All right, and now please welcome to the stage the creative geniuses behind the Elf on the Shelf, Carol Aebersold and Chanda. All right, let's come on up, ladies. How are you today?
We are great. Thank
you. Hello, everybody. Yes, please continue to enjoy your lunch while we're talking up here. So I don't know what the demographic is in particular, or whether or not people know what the Elf on the Shelf is. So will you go ahead and explain? Tell us about the Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah, so typically when we meet people, the first thing we hear is, "Oh my God, Elf on the Shelf." And then the second thing we hear is, "I hate you."
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We feel the love.
Yeah.
We feel the love.
So if you don't know, the Elf on the Shelf is actually a children's book based on our own family tradition. And it comes with an actual elf from the North Pole, of course, that Santa sends. And he sits in that little box and he hibernates until a family takes it home, gives it a name, adopts their elf, and then it comes to life and gets Christmas magic.
So it gets Christmas magic. What does it do then at the house?
It watches the children and it reports to Santa every night mostly the good things that moms never notice, like, "Hey, yeah, you did put the top back on the toothpaste tube," or things like that. And of course, if there's a little bit of a mix-up, he may have to tell Santa there was a little problem. But normally, he's just reporting the good things.
So he's nice validation. You know, Santa's always watching, but now Santa's got a little helper to watch, right?
That's right.
And you're encouraging kids to behave around the holidays.
At one time, yeah, we're encouraging faith, hope, and love, and acts of kindness.
Okay, so I have to tell you that they already know this because I told them at lunch, but I'm a little jealous of you because if my daughters came home and told me that they wanted to go into business with me, I would be absolutely thrilled. But one's going to be a neuroscientist and the other a doctor, so I think that there's no chance of that. Anyway, but how did you decide to work together?
It was a God thing. As we were talking at the table, I was feeling empty nest syndrome in a very big way. And I just thought, well, I've raised my kids, they're off and married, I have grandchildren, and now I have nothing to do, and no one needs me.
Aw, that's not true.
And I'm so pitiful. And so I was telling Chanda, I was sharing with her what was going on, and she said, "Mom, you're a good writer, why don't you write a book?" And I said, "Oh, Chanda, nobody would want to read a book that I wrote." And she looked up on the shelf in our kitchen, and there was Frisbee, our elf. And she said, "Mom, I've got an idea. Why don't we write a book and share our elf tradition with the world?" And I said, "Oh, Chanda, nobody would want..." Okay.
Yeah, you did for something, right?
Yeah. That's right. So then we started right then. God was good, and he gave me the first line of the book. Have you ever wondered how Santa could know if you're naughty or nice these years you grow? And then it just grew from there.
Well, after about 5 months of arguing over rhyme scheme, but...
I was just going to say, so you're both educators and obviously know how to tell stories, but why did you decide to turn that? I mean, I know that you decided to write a book, and that's fun. That could be a fun creative project. Like some of us do art, and some of us go get our hair done, and you guys decide to write a book together. But how did you decide to turn that into a business proposition?
So I think ignorance is bliss. Mm-hmm. We never started out to start a business at all. This really was about doing a project with my mom, just something to get her mind off her present circumstance, something for us to do together. And then I'm a huge believer that you have this idea and it's either a good idea and that's all it will ever be, or you're going to have to do something with it. Mm-hmm. And we could not get anyone to publish it. We have beautiful letters that say no one will want this and it's destined for the damaged goods bin.
Oh, and that people do not read or buy rhyming books. Who
so
knew?
Does anyone know of Dr. Seuss?
That's what I said.
Yes. And so really, I was moved earlier by the lady who spoke before us because we literally had nothing. We had nothing. We had no way to get money. We didn't know people with money. But you're faced with one of those things. It's like it was a good idea and that's all it will ever be, or we're going to have to self-publish this baby. What does that look like? The internet was new. So we get online, I start Googling to find this out. And we actually ended up starting the company on my husband and I's personal credit cards. Because that's all we had. We had good credit.
Right. We cashed in what little bit we had, and her twin sister, Krista, sold her house, and she and her husband moved in with us, and we all invested to get the first run of books.
Wow, so you're really doing what Brittany Turner had alluded to. When you want to do something, you get it done. Come hell or high water, you're going to get it done. You're going to mortgage your house, you're going to sell your stuff, you're going to use your credit. So, I mean, I think that's great. The interesting thing to me is you were told no a lot, like you said. Publisher said no, we don't like it, or you'd have to change it for us to like it. No in the way that for the first 3 years, even when it was in local retailers, you weren't really making any money. Given that this was just a passion project, what did no teach? Is no a bad word, or what did no teach you?
No taught me that it's not a definite thing. It just means no for now. But we knew in our hearts and knew in our gut that it was a good idea. And each one of us was up one day and maybe down the next, but there were the three of us, and we were all helping each other and saying, we're going to do this and we're going to make it work. And one day Chanda came to my husband and said, I don't know, I'm scared, I'm out. We may just need to sell these books and just quit. And he said, no, we are not quitting. We are all going together. And we went, oh yeah, okay, so
yeah,
we did.
So my husband is a school teacher. I was a former school teacher, and I knew that if we couldn't sell these books and pay this off, like, I was going to jail. Someone was going to jail. And it was probably me. I was low-hanging fruit. But we were just at that stage in our life. I had a brand new baby. Our budget was $150 every 2 weeks, and that included diapers, formula, everything we needed to live. But what we knew we had was an amazing family tradition, and just somewhere in your gut, beyond all reason, truly, you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I think for us, that was the driver. And you were correct earlier, it has nothing to do with earning money. That will only get you so far. For us, it was the passion of sharing our family tradition with the world, creating joyful family moments. And now we have this great passion of being the voice of Santa Claus, through our other characters and our stories and our lore. And it is truly what I was put on this planet and this earth to do. But we had no idea when we sat down over tea one day.
And I found my purpose at a certain age. So when you reach that certain age, just think of me and go on and do something new.
I love that. I mean, you epitomize everything that's been discussed today. You had a driving force. You surrounded yourself with yes people. I mean, that's part of the trick too. I mean, the great relationships and your family. I mean, who could be tighter than that? So they're there to sort of bring you up, and I just love that. And I love that you never quit. You weren't motivated by money. You were motivated not to go to prison, which is also a good motivation.
Yeah, it helps.
So then, needless to say, and most of us know this, you became a big success story. But when did you realize that you had made it? Was there an event? Was there something that happened that okay, now we've really made it?
I think it's this moment right now.
Yeah!
Right. No, honestly, I think at any given moment, I think the key is to not ever think you're there. And I think as any serial entrepreneur, you don't. There's always something else to grasp for. There's always something else to go for. So it was originally like elf on the shelf, let's get this on every shelf. Then it was like, a balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, or it was, let's put out an animated special. So I think each time there's something more that you have to be driven by. And I think the second you start thinking that you've made it, like, it's time to cash it in.
You just reach those new milestones. I'll tell you, when I felt like I made it one time was this past Christmas. We were in New York for the Macy's parade to see the balloon go by and to wave at the publishers who told us no.
That's nice.
I do have a picture outside of one, and I posted it.
Thank you so
and I'm
much.
legit like in front of it, and I'm like, do you think we should go up and
Go
say
in
thank
and
you?
Thank them.
Yes.
And I walked into FAO Schwartz, and there was a display of the Elf on the Shelf, and a friend of mine was with me, and he told this young man who was standing there, he said, she's one of the authors of The Elf on the Shelf. And he said, seriously? And I said, yes. And he dropped his hands and he came over and he hugged me.
Aww.
And he said, I just want to thank you for all the joy that you've brought to children all over the world. Can I go get my wife and my children and we have a picture?
Aww.
That's when you know you've made it, is when it's making an impact and making somebody happy.
That's awesome, and not to discount that, or if you get a Twitter troll, right?
Oh yeah, I got this. So this year, y'all, I was telling them at lunch, it was my first troll. And I was like, I've made it, I got a troll.
She has an elf and a troll.
Yeah, at Chanda if you wanna join my fun on Twitter. And yeah, so this person, of course, Twitter's such a friendly universe. And it was something about, I've read this Elf on the Shelf book and you are garbage. Your book is garbage, your tradition is garbage. At Chanda Bell, you are garbage. Thank you.
First of all, okay, that's when you know you've made it, when you have an internet
for sure.
troll. But I will tell you that you are the opposite of garbage. You are literally filling the homes with joy. And one of the things I think we can all attest to this, that we all hold on to into our adult lives and beyond, and we pass on, are those memories, those childhood memories, and you are creating memories. You were good enough to share your beautiful memories with the rest of the world, and now all these kids are gonna grow up with these, beautiful memories of their time during the holidays, so I just love that. Well, speaking of that though, it's not just holiday stuff. Now you've done books and movies, and now you've got a birthday tradition. You said that you never want to rest on your laurels and stop progressing. How do you, though, keep up that creative wave? How do you keep going? Where does that come from?
You don't want to spend any time in her brain because you'd be like,
It does go a little beautiful mind. So we have about 90 full-time employees that work for Santa Claus year-round, and sometimes I'll look at them, I'm like, all right, it's about to go beautiful mind, because the universe of the North Pole, it's vast, guys. It's Harry Potter. There are a million stories to tell. Every single elf that visits your house is a completely different story to tell. And I think it's our job to really imbue the spirit of St. Nicholas and bring that to the world. So our Santa Claus is not some wizard who just makes toys and only good boys and good girls get it. It's really about a whole universe of characters, and using characters that children love to teach them about generosity and kindness and hope and love and joy, but in a way that parents totally get excited about too. So our universe is endless. So with the reindeer tradition, we answer how Santa's sleigh flies. In the St. Bernard tradition, how is Santa magical at the North Pole? And what we teach children through our books is that they play a part of that Christmas spirit, and that's what Santa needs to make his magic at the North Pole. So we have a whole universe, people. There's a whole bunch of stories to tell.
I love that positivity and all of this negative. I love that. So you did not know, though, that social media was gonna take off the way that it did. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't get on social media during the holidays without seeing an elf in a very obscure part of somebody's apartment or their basement or whatever it is. Tell me about that sort of process of going viral, and what part does social media play in today's business world?
I'll let Chanda answer that because she's the more social media savvy one. I'm like, last night she tweeted, my mom does not know how to properly eat a Kit Kat. And people were like, oh, chiming in on it. So I'll let her. I'm like, you're exposing my weaknesses.
No, what
here
you
to the
didn't,
world.
okay, y'all, she did not know the difference between a Twix and a Kit Kat bar. So we had an experiment on our road trip, and then I taught her how you eat the Kit Kat from the top down. You know what I'm talking about, by the layers.
Wait, you do?
Oh, it's a thing, you can't just eat the Kit Kat. What's the point of that?
It was a whole tutorial on how to eat a Kit Kat.
Yeah,
and a
so
Twix.
she did a great job, by the way. We tackled Kit Kat and Twix bar. It was wonderful. But to social media. So for those of you that have active social media engagement in your business, I think honestly the real key is that you use social media to listen. And for us, it has driven everything from, what new products are people looking for? What are they longing for from us? Just to people will tell you what they want if you just listen. So I oversee consumer marketing for the company. So all of our social channels, our Instagram, our Pinterest, the content that's going out on that, because the content creation is every bit as much of our North Pole and our story as the books we put out, as the animation we put out. Like if you read one of our blogs, it's got to match all the other messages that we've told you about our product and our elf and how everything interacts together in our universe. But social media can be so powerful. And you're right, when we first launched, it did not exist. And in some ways, social media makes things a little more difficult because when something goes viral, it can spread messages about your product that really have nothing to do with anything you created.
Right.
So for example, the idea of the elf getting into things and being a little bit mischievous, that never came from us. The book simply says that the elf watches during the day, reports to Santa at night, and then flies back to your home to land in a different spot. Well, how hard is this, right? So none of that ever came from us, but what social media allowed us to do was look at what our consumers were doing and how they were engaging with our products and meet them there. Still keeping our brand message, still keeping our, this is about kindness, this is not about naughty and nice, it's about always nice. And then you have to control and shift whatever that message is to what you need it to be to fit with your brand. So social media can be extremely powerful. It can also be difficult to overcome those messages where you have to mount a completely different campaign to what everyone else is saying and believing. So it's powerful, it's very powerful, but I tell you what, and used the right way, it's also some of the most magical moments I've ever had. So I was telling you earlier that a family got in touch with me on Twitter and their son was going through this battle with osteosarcoma, and they would tweet me each time he went into the hospital to get special permission from Santa Claus to have his elf during those treatments. And they would send me these pictures of this child with his elf going through these treatments. And that's when you realize what you are doing is so much bigger than just sharing your family tradition. This is touching this family in a way, but social media allowed us to share those moments.
I love that, that's beautiful. Carol, I'm gonna finish with you before we ask the audience for some questions. What's something you wish you would have known when you first started out in this venture of yours?
I think we were so blessed to not know anything. Ignorance in that case was bliss, because if we had known the mountains that we needed to climb, we probably wouldn't have given it the all, but it was just little by little, step by step, one thing at a time. And I ran across something that I'd written in my journal the other day, which I'm sure I stole from someone, because I'm not this clever to come up with it, but it said, more dreams have been destroyed by doubt than have ever been destroyed by failure. And we may have had doubt. Chanda is the most tenacious person I've ever met, and we just knew in our hearts that it was a good thing, and fortunately our husbands were on board. So we had that, not just a 3-fold cord, but a 6-fold cord that was not easily broken. And so it was good to not know, but you have to do your due diligence.
What great advice. I think that's something that you're echoing what Brittany said earlier too. You can't see it all in one big piece because you'll never get there. You just have to take it piece by piece. And I love that you are comfortable. That's a great message for all of us, that not knowing is okay. Yeah. And not knowing what that next step is okay, because once you do something, you'll learn something more, and you'll keep learning and you'll keep growing. And you are a beautiful testament to that, and a wonderful mother-daughter team. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any questions for Chanda and Carol? Okay, we got a question right over here.
So there's a few tables here that are representing the city of Myrtle Beach, and as you were speaking, we were all conspiring to understand how we could get a giant elf to hide around the city during the upcoming holidays and engage with our community.
Well, we actually do a lot of those types of events. I know that in Knoxville every year, the whole city participates. It's quite something. But yeah, call our office, we'll hook you up. We know people.
Boy, that was
easy.
easy.
That was easy.
Anyone else?
I think there's one over here.
Some hands? Yep, several hands. They're going to bring a microphone to you so we can all hear you.
Can you pass it?
I just wanted to share with you, I had my 7-year-old granddaughter this past weekend up in the mountains with us, and I have a lot of things on the shelves and all. And she looked around, she said, "Do you have an elf on the shelf?" And I said, "No." And I said, "Why, do you have one at home?" She said, "No, but he moves around every day. And here you are." And I'm like, I gotta get her an elf on the shelf. So I just wanna thank you. Here's a 7-year-old that doesn't even have one, but talks about it and knows about it. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And you're
sharing
gonna have an
that.
opportunity, because we're gonna have a scavenger hunt a little bit later. You might just score one for your 7-year-old granddaughter.
Yeah.
Anybody else? We got a question over here.
Do you have a particular favorite hiding spot that you've seen for an elf or mischievous situation?
Oh, well, we get that a lot. My elf is kind of boring. I have 2 of them. It's kind of boring. It just flies from one place to another. I've seen some really amazing and very, very clever things that elves can do. I'm not sure that one sticks out. I think each time, I think for me what really stands out, to be honest with you, is the reaction of children when people share their videos. So it can be as simple as when that elf first comes to a family's home and the kid is like, I mean, screaming and yelling and excitement to finding it each morning. And I think that's the joy that it brings throughout the Christmas season. I think those are the things that stick with me a little more. Mom, do you have a favorite hiding spot that you've seen?
Not that I've seen. I just love. Be careful. Elves are not fireproof.
Yes.
So they do not. They do not do well on lamps.
Sometimes they land on a lamp and there's a lot of little scorched elf bombs out there. There are.
They're not actually magic.
They're wonderful and they're real, but they really burn. So watch out.
They're just obeying Santa because they can't move. They
Yeah,
gotta
right.
just sit there and be still.
We have another question back here.
I just want to say thank you. The magic that the elf brought to our house has been so fun and funny. We have 2, Buck and Bill, mainly because I lost Buck, so we had to get Bill. We hid Buck so well, so we now have Bill. However, we also had a little bit of a funny story with the little outfits that they wear. So the, I guess, robe and feet slippers, one of the slippers fell off and found it a few months after Christmas. So I thought you'd hear kind of some of the little funny stories. Maybe you could write a book about those that you're accumulating, because there's so many of the funny stories, like the ones that they catch on fire. But there are many. That Christmas tree is not a good place either.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. See, that's
But,
how
you
they're
know,
going to keep this creativity up, right?
Yeah, and that's a great example of listening, right? So it's things like social media and at events like this where we hear, that's a really fun idea. There are so many fun stories. Parents love to share, but also it's like, oh, elf clothing, and we have it. But it was our customers who first told us that, and actually in the form of my son. So he was the one who first came up. He was like, Mom, you drew me a picture. I have it framed in my office of the first elf jersey. He wanted a football jersey for his elf, and that's how we ended up with elf clothes.
That's awesome. Love it. Do we have any other questions? There's one up here.
Maybe 2 more?
Yeah, 2 more.
I just wanted to piggyback real quick on the elf clothes. If you go and decide to grow that, this year, with this inspired, since I'm on the board for the planning committee, I was quite excited to see you guys coming, and it inspired me to use the elf in our marketing. And we had an elf, and I did a contest online for my customers to name him, and so it's Shingle Bell because we're a roofing company. But I needed to make him special, so I created a shirt, an outfit for him with our logo on it. And I'll tell you what, my graphic designer and the people that create our t-shirts and does our screen printing hated me for it because they had to make it so small. So if there's a way that you guys can, propel yourselves even further into allowing companies to then submit their logos and to have custom cut, because everywhere I took it to our customers to say thank you to them, and we got pictures with them, every single one of them asked me, where did you get this shirt? I need to get a custom shirt for our elf and for our company. So just a little idea about just to say thank you. That, it really even grew our business, and it made us a little bit more relatable to our customers to come in and just be a little fun in the Christmas season, thanking them, but then having them, pose with our elf, and they thought it was like super fun even when we did lunches with you guys.
Great idea.
So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think one more.
There's one over there.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. My favorite part of the elves is their names. My kids are grown now, but ours name was Elfer St. Nickel Helper, and I used him to help Mom. He was always very helpful doing things around the house, and it allowed me to make sure that the kids helped me so that he could report back to Santa that they were helping me. But my question to you is, I know you were willing to mortgage your house. For us entrepreneurs who are wanting to break out and do not want to mortgage our house in order to fulfill our dream, do you have any suggestions other than going down the traditional business loan route where they ask you to provide collateral in the form of equity, AKA your house?
There are a lot of paths that you can take. In our case, no one had equity, no one had anything to offer. So even the Small Business Administration turned us down. But then in 2010 gave us the Small Business of the Year award.
Yeah.
So it all comes back around. I think honestly the real answer to that is that it's going to force you to be creative. It's going to force you to be creative. So whether you are socking away $5 a week to eventually launch that goal or dream, it's starting one baby step at a time. Are you bartering for services with someone? Hey, you own a printing company, I clean houses. Is there something we can do? So sometimes it's not about, putting it on your credit card or mortgaging your house. You might be fortunate enough to have a really great banking relationship where they're willing to lend to you, but nobody wanted to lend, on an elf doll. What was the bank, going to get out of that? So it did force us to be really creative. And I will say that Mom would say this too, but we worked for free completely for 3 years and poured every penny that we got from every sale of a book back into the business. So that's part of it too, is being willing to make those sacrifices so that you could grow it into what it needed to be. Because I could have paid off all my debt at that moment. We could have been like, oh good, we sold our first 5,000, we're all out of debt, we all got a little pocket money, but then where would we be now? We wouldn't be sitting here. So I really think that it does force you to be creative, and there are a lot of avenues. There is the Small Business Administration, there's your local chamber, there's bartering, there's banks, there's friends and family. We all put something in.
Right.
I know. I love your message too of ask for help, because I think that we women, we sort of take on the world and we are taking care of everybody else. But people like to be asked for help. Like you said, the bartering, I love that idea, because there is something that you can provide and somebody might be able to provide for you.
I will say too, it drives you to your knees
Yeah.
to ask for guidance and help. And God is so gracious, He opened doors for us that we wouldn't have never been able to open for ourselves.
And you guys are a living testament. It is okay to ask for help. Not only is it okay, it's a great idea to ask for help. And this is like the first forum right here for all of you women to connect and to learn from each other and to share with each other and ask for help. Thank you so much, Carol Aebersold and Chanda Bell.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna let you guys go and I'm gonna bring you back on the next.